I've picked up when we've been talking about COVID and the pandemic. Obviously, the media, it's been coverage pretty much solely about coronavirus and everything. So, a few major themes that I've picked up. Well, one specifically that I want to talk about is anxiety. And we talked about loneliness, we covered some post traumatic stress, but I see a lot about anxieties. And people experiencing anxiety and anxiety levels being spiked while this is happening. Does anybody have anything you want to share about why the pandemic might be sparking anxiety in people?
I I think it's the fear of the unknown.
Mhm.
Right now, we just have no idea what's going to happen next. I mean, nobody could have anticipated this. We have yet to see the full economic repercussions of all of this going on. I mean, we have no idea how long this is going to have an effect on our economy, both locally and globally. It's sparking like all sorts of unusual chain reaction events. Like for instance, um, some school kids can't get meals yet. Farmers are dumping millions of
Right.
pounds of vegetables, and they because they can't. There's no way for them to transport it to people that actually need it. I mean, so it just has had this like ripple effect, and there's no way to almost prepare yourself for it. And I think that leads to increased anxiety. Of course, there's also economic stress because all of a sudden a lot of people have lost their jobs and they're trying to think about what am I going to do next, and I'm in the middle of a global pandemic, and when am I going to be able to find a new job? There's a lot of concern over that. um, you're also concerned about your health and well-being. Chelsea and I were talking about how I wonder if we're all going to have agoraphobia after this, where we're just like walking down the street, oh, don't come near me, for a while,
Yeah.
just because you've now conditioned yourself to be like,
Yeah.
I need to stay away
We are
from
associating
everybody.
humans with pathogens right now. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
exactly.
the norm, it's yeah, I have had the same thought, Miley. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just wonder, what the repercussions of that is gonna. I mean, it's gonna be a really long time till I think that things return to quote unquote normal again. And so I think that's very anxiety provoking.
Can I add also, it kind of reminds me of the line from Harry Potter, constant vigilance, right? So we have to be constantly vigilant because there's pathogens and there's things that are just ready to attack us at every corner, right? We have to wash our
Hmm.
hands. And if we get an Amazon package, we can't let it into our house. And we have to wait 24 hours. And every little thing is just all of these extra steps and all of this panic and worry. And so it's a lot of extra thinking and it's this constant vigilance. It's actually a chronic stressor.
Hmm.
So having that, it's extra additional cognitive load and it functions as a stressor. And I'll let Angie talk about the effects of that.
Thanks. You knew I wanted to go next. Yeah. So when Chelsea was talking about all of that, I was thinking about how that influences our biology under our skin. So like our stress hormones are really out of whack. Our adrenals get kind of tapped out, so to speak, where we can only secrete cortisol, which is actually a helpful stress hormone in the short term for so long. But once we continue to secrete that at a high level all the time, our body no longer responds to it in the way that is actually adaptive and helps us. And instead, it starts to drain us. And so that also influences like our sleep cycle, which is incredibly related to anxiety and all data sets and all kinds of different samples, meaning different groups of people that have been studied. Um, and so, I mean, one suggestion I've heard a lot is to try to keep a schedule to the extent that feels supportive for you and your family. Of course, flexibility is good too when you need it because everything's so you know, ever changing. But the ways that we can exercise, sleep, eat healthy, do things that are going to support our body in that hypervigilant, it's like overly threatened mode all of the time can help us try to like kind of come back down to our natural baseline at the end of the day, get good sleep, and get refreshed every day.
I wonder also if that's where some of the anxiety comes from too. Is that, I mean, aside from the fact that, yeah, we're worried about the economy, we're worried about obviously people getting sick, we're worried about people dying, we're worried about all of these things. Also, I feel like just being thrown off of our routine, the fact that we
Mhm.
can't do the things that we always do is anxiety provoking in and of itself because it takes more cognitive resources when we're already under this cognitive load. And even setting a new routine, even if it's a routine that you like or it's an easy routine and you're trying to do things that you like, it can be difficult just because it takes more resources and you just don't have any. There you just feel sapped of resources.
Mhm. Yep.
It's
That
not
also
only
makes
that.
people more likely to give up. Sorry. So the kind of learned helplessness of I can't do the littlest thing, right? So what happens if my internet connection is down or is spotty during one of my classes? What if Outlook doesn't work because it never does? All of those little frustrations can become this huge thing to the point where you just kind of give up, right? So I find myself engaging in learned helplessness so much more than I usually would have, where if it's something silly that upsets me, I have to take a moment away
Yeah.
and be like,
Yeah.
okay, you know what? Now would be a good time for a walk. Dogs, let's go.
Yes.
Or, you know what? Now it is, let's do lunch, right? Let's watch Community and let's eat lunch and just
Yeah.
have a nice little brain break because I can't seem to regulate in the same way that
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
usually do.
Yeah. Miley, what were you going to say?
I think it's also this feeling of loss of control. I mean, we just feel like we have no control over what we do anymore. And that goes back to our core needs, right? Like autonomy, competence, and relatedness. I mean, we uh, uh, we don't have those factors uh, for the most part right now. I mean, we don't really have the autonomy to go and do whatever we want to do like we normally would. Uh, we probably don't have the competence because we don't have all the resources that we normally would have access to, and we don't
Mhm.
have relatedness because we can't actually see anybody.
Yeah, it's
You
just
know,
thwarting
so
all three basic needs. Like we're not getting
yeah,
anything.
so we're not getting anything. And so I think that's definitely going to contribute to our anxiety. I mean, um,
And then some joker on Twitter is telling us to write King Lear and like
Yeah.
just pile on, right?
And just for context, for people who are tuning in who have never heard of like basic needs in terms of psychological basic needs, those basic needs that Miley and Michelle were just talking about are what we think of as psychologists as like air, water,
Yes.
food.
Yes, psychological
We're like,
nutriments,
oh,
they're called.
autonomy, competence, control, oh, belongingness. Yes, absolutely. So
Yeah.
when we say basic needs, we're talking about those. Those are
Right,
important.
right. Get out of here, Maslow.
Well, he had an important hierarchy of needs too, self-actualization. I like that one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.